Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here.
Charles here.
We are off to the races, folks. The sperm races, and that may sound a little off-putting, but there is actually a good cause behind it. This is an odd thing to lead the show with, but this is so unique, we had to tell you
And
about
it's
this.
happening right here in Hollywood. It will be going down at the Hollywood Palladium, an actual race between spermatozoa.
Absolutely true.
To give the full scientific name, we're going to try to be as scientific as we can here, but it is really fun and an incredible idea. A group, when we're going to bring in the guys who came up with this in just a moment, but the plan is at the Hollywood Palladium, there are going to be thousands of people there to watch a race between the sperm of two different donors. And it is basically a race to see whose sperm is faster to get to the finish line. Which is, we got to figure out exactly what the finish line is. We know what it is in real life. I'm not sure what it is going to be in this race.
There's a lot to ask.
There's a lot to ask. So we're going to bring in the guys here from Sperm Racing, and they are some young entrepreneurs who came up with this idea. So joining us right now, you see them as you see them on camera, Nick, Eric, and Shane, and their buddy in the back there, Jabron. Congratulations, guys, on this event, and welcome to TMZ Live.
Appreciate you guys for having us.
Okay, so we got to hear everything here. So why don't we start with who came up with this idea and explain the race. What is the finish line exactly here, and who's participating? Who are the sperm is it anyway?
Yeah, 100%. So actually, I came up with the idea, I think 3 months ago. So this billionaire, he ended up flying us out to New York. He was like, what was the craziest idea that you have that's not your current company? And I was like, sperm racing. And it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, right? So like ever since I was 2, I always wanted to sperm race and relive the memories. But what was kind of interesting was once we got a little bit further, it was like, okay, like sperm is actually a very important biomarker. It's an aggregate biomarker. So the healthier you are, the faster your sperm moves. So we're trying to turn this health into a competition by making people healthier, using improving their biomarkers, right, and stuff like that. And then the finish line is basically how it works is you have a sperm go through a microfluidic, and then we have something called rheotaxis, and it basically pushes against the current of the sperm, simulating a reproductive system to make the sperm move from point A to point B, and there's a finish line at the end.
Now, is there an actual egg waiting, or what, or is it just a line that they're going to cross, like I don't know, like a racing, like the tape that they have at the end of a marathon,
where they bust through.
They bust through it, like, hey.
Yeah. So in a sense, it's like we're almost like simulating conditions of an egg at the finish line. It's not an actual egg, at least not yet. But yeah, it would pretty much be a line that we would mark, and it would be simulating an egg.
So who are the donors here? Because what you said was you want to find healthy people, you want to see how this moves. My understanding is this is somehow a competition between USC and UCLA?
Yeah, so we've been on campus and we've been recruiting for a little bit, and we found one person from USC and one person from UCLA. Very, very similar biomarkers. We're actually announcing the racers in an hour from now. And basically, they're going to race their sperm in a massive stadium with thousands of people at the Palladium on April 25th. So that's kind of how we're doing that. And they're basically, the weeks leading up to it, we're giving them thousands of dollars every single week to optimize their biomarkers to make their sperm a lot faster.
They're training.
Hold on. So they're
training.
What exactly are they doing to optimize their biomarkers?
Everything from the food they eat, right? So boosting their testosterone, from supplements, right? Vitamins, pineapple juice, right? And some other stuff too. And we're giving them a budget every single week and filming the whole entire process of them training to be a sperm athlete.
So
I'm not taking the bait on the pineapple. I don't see why the pineapple would be relevant in this case. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm really curious about this. So how does this exactly work? Because you're not just having them do it the day before. So this presumably would be fresh enough.
You're talking about the collection?
The collection. So what's the process here?
Yeah, so I mean, the collection would be like anything else. We take that output and then we keep it at body temperature. We do like a cleaning process, so we're able to take just the sperm cells, and then we race it in our microfluidic, which acts as like a microscopic racetrack.
Are they doing this at the Palladium?
Not the collection.
The collection. No, I'm really asking. The collection.
Yeah, the collection is live. It's to keep it as healthy as possible so we can test to see how their biomarkers affected their sperm health and get a real.
I don't want to get too graphic, but they're not doing it in front of the audience.
The crowd. They'll be.
I think one of the things that we started, we started on this is, the last thing we want to do is focus it on a degenerate or a very adult kind of audience, right? It's kind of this thing where 50 years ago, people are healthier now than 50 years ago, right? People stopped smoking, people stopped eating a lot more fast food because the public kept shaming people about it. But with sperm, it's kind of interesting where it's the last 50 years, fertility has declined 50%. It's still declining because no one knows how important this biomarker is because it's so taboo, right? No one talks about it. Everyone talks about food. That's why people have started eating healthier. But no one talks about sperm. And sort of what we're trying to do with this is kind of change the paradigm on sperm to make it less of this taboo, this adult entertainment concept, but more of this health kind of related thing. Fertility is a big issue. And people are having trouble making babies. People are having a lot of trouble.
It's a big issue because fertility has gone down. Especially with males, it's really been a problem, right? With young males.
Exactly, and no one knows how to optimize it, and no one even knows that it's an important biomarker because it's so taboo. It's always been associated with adult entertainment. So sort of what we're trying to do is we're trying to change the paradigm and also make this health concept more of a competition, so people could compete to be healthier.
So just finally, this can be a rowdy crowd. You're going to have USC versus UCLA, and they're probably going to be, what I'm hearing is 5,000 people. This is going to be super duper rowdy, right?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't know how much rivalry there are between USC and UCLA. So it's definitely going to be exciting. There's a lot of content that's being filmed on campus too, with a bunch of UCLA and USC students on sperm racing. So I'm actually really excited to see how this kind of turns out and what the reactions are to this. Because I don't think anyone has been at a sperm race before. So I don't think anyone knows what to expect.
So just to be clear, for anyone showing up at the Palladium, the race is going to be going on, clearly microscopically, but you're going to have giant screens that projecting all this for people to. Will there be any gambling?
We're not allowed to gamble, even though we've turned down a lot.
Right answer.
Right. Charles,
there you go.
Stop.
Yeah, I think prediction market is one of these things where actually what was interesting, Polymarket just outbid a lot of our other prediction market kind of contracts. So Polymarket is the people that facilitated the election betting. So we were partners with them. And I think a big part is we've been offered a lot of money from sponsors that are from casinos or a bunch of adult things, right? And they offered a lot more money, but we just haven't taken it. Most of our main sponsor is Nucleus, which is a DNA testing company, right? So we kind of want to veer away from the degeneracy and actually turn this into a health thing. So most of our sponsors are actually health, and especially with betting, right? We're not partnering with a massive casino. We're partnering with a prediction market. We're going to give biomarkers and stuff like that on the days leading up to the race.
I got to tell you,
very educational.
I got to tell you, it's really a good idea because there really is a purpose behind this because fertility is an issue in this country. And just the fact that you're raising awareness, telling people how to be healthier and how it impacts that.
Can entertain,
really good
and
idea.
Educate at the same time.
It's a great idea. It's a really novel, great idea. Good for you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. But yeah, we've been working really hard to make Sperm race. So it's been a lot harder than I thought.
What's he doing behind you? What is he doing behind you?
There's a lot of test tubes.
Yeah,
and,
what is going on there?
Yeah. So hey guys, this is our lab setup currently. So right now we're extracting cells currently from samples that we received. So over here we have a centrifuge which just spins things down. We have a water bath next to it, which sort of heats things up to body temperature. And then we have our microscope set up on the left over here. I'm not sure how well you can see it. It might be a bit blurry.
Yeah, it's a little blurry, but we get the
picture.
Also, even if we could see it, what do we know?
What do we know?
Yeah.
Hey guys, congratulations. We're going to cover this and can't wait. Cannot wait. It sounds great.
Appreciate you guys. But yeah, we're also additional to that, we're also tracing the sperm using computer vision. So it's a big technical process that, I never thought it would be this complicated to race sperm. So I'm excited.
I'm gonna watch you guys take over the world in 10 years.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
It's gonna be less than 10 years.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us on.
That was amazing. amazing.
I gotta say,
It's
that they're
such
even
a
thinking
good
of that
idea, and they thought it through. And I mean, this is
at
just
such a young age.
I know, it's amazing.
I mean, I know you were doing wild things when you were 16
That's
years old.
amazing. Okay,
That is
we're taking a break.
All right, when we come back, Blake Lively gets a huge honor from Time Magazine, a title that I'm not sure a lot of people would give to her, but she got it, and we will explain why. But also, someone from It Ends With Us, one of her crew members, says she fully took advantage of Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively is a titan. That is the title bestowed to her by Time Magazine, who put her on its list of the 100 most influential people of 2025. Now, when you see that title, most influential, you could say, I get it, right? Because she has been in the news all year. There's been a debate about women in the workplace, how they're treated, and so...
It's dominated the news cycle in many ways.
Absolutely, so you would understand it, right?
So you would think this whole thing revolves around this feud with Justin Baldoni. Justin Baldoni is never mentioned.
Never mentioned. Her war with Justin Baldoni, never mentioned. It has nothing to do with that. This is what it has to do with. So the essay in the magazine about Blake Lively was written by a very accomplished civil rights attorney, Sherilyn Ifill.
Can I just say, she is fantastic.
Absolutely.
She was legal counsel, chief legal counsel for the NAACP. She's now a professor at Howard Law School, and she is just one of the smartest people in this space.
And she says that she knows nothing of the Blake Lively that we just talked about, that we've been talking about for a year now in this war around It Ends With Us. She says, I admired immediately her, Blake's curiosity and her sincere work to understand the conditions that shape this country. Blake is a serious person, she's a risk taker, and she's committed to moving this country forward for her children and for mine. And it goes on to say that, that Blake, Sherilyn, her interaction with Blake was that Blake made, and Ryan
made a big contribution to the NAACP.
Right, to their legal defense fund.
That's right.
And that's how she got to know her. She says, I don't know anything about this other person. So I guess that part doesn't matter.
The whole article, she said that she's never seen Gossip Girl. She doesn't even know Blake from the red carpet. She only talks about Blake's philanthropy. And like you guys said, nothing is mentioned about the Justin Baldoni lawsuit. I mean, even, you could say that Blake is standing up for women, legally fighting against people that she worked with that sexually harassed her. Like, she could have said that, but that was totally not in the article.
Now, the bad news, that if you look at that word Titan, add an IC at the end. And that's the problem.
That is the description
down under.
That's basically the description that was given by a crew member from It Ends With Us, who spoke to 60 Minutes Australia about this whole war. They were addressing it, and this is what the crew member had to say about Blake's behavior on set.
In my opinion, I find it very hard to believe the allegations against him. And considering his mission statement about the film, and him genuinely pitching that he was doing this film to help young women, I just find it hard to believe the allegations, to be honest. I would say I felt more comfortable being around Justin than a lot of film directors in my experience. I feel like maybe Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage and take power, so yeah.
So you believe Blake Lively wrestled control of the film?
I think she tried to, yes.
So the only thing I kind of want to say about this is you are never going to be fully satisfied with the way this ends. I don't know if it ends with them, but as how it ends with us, I don't think you're going to see a clear winner and you're going to see a clear loser in this.
I think, to be fair, because we've heard this from people in Blake's camp for a year, almost a year now, since this battle started, that everyone on the crew are very tight with Justin. It is his production company,
right,
and that he hired his production company hired the entire crew. So they would say, yeah, of course, the crew members are siding with him. He hired them. So
never going to be satisfied, folks.
Correct.
Hi, I'm Marie from Richmond, Virginia. And after seeing the article, my immediate thought was, how much did her PR team pay for this article? What is it about stealing the creative direction of a movie makes her influential? What did she do that was so influential before the lawsuit? I think the Times really dropped the ball and should have did a little bit more due diligence in researching her.
You know why Time picked her. It's just that
they knew that would draw people in because of everything that's going on.
I got to ask, where are you? That is
you love that interior?
Oh, my God. It's fantastic. Where are you?
I am at work. This is my photography studio in Richmond, Virginia.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. That is something. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. But
I know.
It looked,
well, let's see.
Looked amazing.
Let's see what you think of the interior of the Celebrity Big Brother UK house, where one Mickey Rourke is no longer there. Was kicked off the show in a matter of days. We told you last week about the issues they had immediately with him and gave him a warning after he had said some homophobic things to JoJo Siwa. And then, after he got the warning, and it seemed like he and JoJo maybe kind of buried the hatchet, he got into it with another house guest.
And got a big sayonara from the producers.
Exactly. Here is the fight that got him the boot.
Get in line, soldier. Mickey. Stay confident. Ahoy!
You're looking at me?
Ahoy! You're not the captain of this ship. Ahoy! Back up, soldier.
Don't eyeball me. Mickey, it's a joke. Don't eyeball me.
Whoa. He's joking.
This is Big Brother.
What did you say?
He was joking.
Let him have his
Please.
Don't have
That was the last straw for Mickey, and we reached out actually and spoke with Mickey's rep, and he's actually thinking of filing a lawsuit. So they're talking to some attorneys over in the UK, and essentially they have two big gripes. One, they're saying that ITV, which is the company that produces it, basically kicked him out of the house one day before he was about to get a bunch more money due to like how the contract was written. And then their other issue is that they said they were, I guess it was contractually that they were going to provide them with like first-class hotels for him and his team while they were over there. And then allegedly they're saying as they were flying over to the UK, they got word that, oh no, it's actually, we're only providing $300 a night a hotel, and they had already booked like a super nice hotel that ended up costing like $50K.
50K?
So he's upset.
50K? Wait a minute, so he's way in the hole then?
Well, I don't know exactly what he was making for Big Brother, but I do know that the only reason he was even going on this show was because he needs money right now, and he's going to maybe end up losing money, which is why he's obviously very upset.
Hi, my name is April. I'm from Jersey City, and I'm pretty sure that they casted him based on his personality. However, racking up $50K in hotel fees when the budget was only $300 is a bit outstanding. However, they did know that he was, in the hole, so they could have kind of, let him stick on the show based on that.
Now you got to pay a lawyer to handle the case.
Way in the hole.
Oh my God. Okay, we're taking a break.
All right, when we come back, a huge shakeup for the Democratic Party from the vice chair of the DNC, David Hogg. The young man who is now in this powerful position says he's now going to fund candidates to run against incumbents. He says some of these folks are too old and they've been here too long. You can imagine how this is sitting in Congress. David's going to be here to explain his plan when we come back. Well, if the Democratic Party wanted a disruptor, they got him when they put David Hogg in as the vice chair of the DNC. And he is now rolling out a plan that some of those people who wanted him to have this role might be second-guessing it because it might cost them their jobs. David Hogg wants to make sure that the Democrats have new blood and that there aren't people who just stay in Congress as incumbents for far too long.
He wants to primary a lot of these incumbents, especially the older ones who have been in Congress for a long time.
And
the party has always taken kind of a neutrality stand on these incumbents. David is bucking that system.
And there are some big names who may end up getting primaried because of this. So joining us right now to explain his strategy, David Hogg, vice chair of the DNC. Welcome back to TMZ Live.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So David, is the plan to get rid of senior members in Congress because of their politics, their performance, or their age?
So, look, I think that a lot of these members can be older. That's certainly one element that we look at. But look, age is not the only factor here. What we look at more than anything is the effectiveness. Certainly, there are younger people that are not very effective, and there's older people that are. So we're not trying to just take a big axe to this and say, well, if you're above a certain age, you can't be there by any means. We want to find the least effective members of Congress that are not doing a great job right now and find truly generational leaders to help elect them there. And sometimes that is going to mean challenging Democratic incumbents, because right now our party's approval is awful. It's at 26% with our own base. If you look at that and you don't think that we need dramatic change, I don't know what to tell you, because we're in a moment of crisis here. We're losing voters of every demographic except the elderly and the well-educated. That is a crisis for the party, and we need to show how we are fighting back against Donald Trump, and not just getting people to vote for us because we're not Republicans, but because we're here to fight for the American people against the special interests that have destroyed the American dream, and how we are working to actively revive it.
David, you have, I've read, $20 million in this fund to go out and to primary members of Congress.
Including Nancy Pelosi, by the way.
Right. So where are you looking to do this? So you must have some candidates in mind that you've thought about, because one of the things I know that some Democrats read this, and the first thing they thought was, well, wait a second, we're trying to keep control. We don't want to lose seats in Congress. So how are you dealing with that?
So let me be clear, Nancy Pelosi is not one of the candidates that we're going after right now. Part of the effort here that we have is to ensure that older members and people of all ages, if they aren't being effective, know that this fund is available and that there is a very real possibility of being challenged. And in addition to that, we are not looking to challenge people that are in districts that are highly competitive between Democrats and Republicans that could ultimately end up resulting in Republicans taking the House if, for example, a weaker Democrat is elected there. We are working in districts that are solidly Democratic, where there are truly generational leaders of young people in those districts who are ready to serve in those moments. And by generational leaders, what I mean are people like our youngest member of Congress, Congressman Maxwell Alejandro Frost, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others that are here to fight back against Donald Trump and his lethal agenda. But it doesn't mean that we're going after anybody just because of their age. We're trying to be very targeted in this and make sure that members know that there is a real risk if you are not being effective, that you will be challenged. And frankly, if there is a member that's listening to this that thinks, oh my God, what if I get primaried? I think they need to do some serious self-reflection and ask them why they are concerned. Because if you were effective, you do not need to worry in this situation.
There is a school of thought that one of the reasons the Democrats lost the presidential election is that Joe Biden surrendered control to the progressive wing of the party, and that the Democrats lost touch with the working class, which is something you mentioned. If you are trying to reinvigorate the party by bringing younger people in, what are you looking at in terms of their values, what they're representing? Are they more progressive? Because you just mentioned, for example, AOC. There are people who think that's what lost the Democrats the election, that they have to move more to the center. So is that a concern of yours? Where are you looking for these young people to land on that spectrum?
To be honest with you, it depends on the district. If it is a highly competitive race, obviously how somebody runs for office, outside of Detroit, Michigan, is going to be different than how somebody runs for office outside of Santa Barbara, for example, or something like that. And that is part of what we're looking at. And across the board, what I will tell you is our candidates, they're not going to take corporate money. They are going to be fighting for campaign finance reform, and they're going to be fighting back against the special interests that have destroyed the American dream for so many young people that feel like it does not exist for them. One issue that I have with a lot of the work that we did last election is that we said over and over again, democracy is so important, democracy is so important, without acknowledging the fact that it was our democracy and the empowerment of special interests that has resulted in kids going through school shootings. It's what resulted in the climate crisis. It's resulted in the rising of housing prices and so much more, where people feel like the American dream is just not attainable to them. And what I'm focused on with these candidates, what we're going to be focused on across the board, is a message that resonates with all of the American people, of all races and genders, where it says, look, we're fighting to lower the cost of housing. We're fighting to make sure that you are not crushed by elder care or the cost of elder care or child care. And we're working to make sure that if you want to go to college, you can afford to do that without a lifetime sentence of debt along the way, which is something I think resonates with everybody.
Yet a lot of people, David, a lot of people think that immigration and culture wars may have tipped the balance in favor of Donald Trump.
I would say look at the results of this past election. Donald Trump has acted a lot of the time like this is a mandate. And frankly, the only way that you can think this was a mandate, let's be clear, this was 230,000 votes across Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. This was one of the closer elections in American history. And that was on top of having a change of leadership on the ticket at the last, just a few months before. If you think that that was a mandate, 230,000 votes, you have to have the math skills of a man like Donald Trump who bankrupted a casino in order to think that. And do I think that there are some things that we should change in our party? Certainly. I think we got to focus more than anything on issues that are affecting everybody across the board, especially lowering costs and also addressing our broken immigration system in the first place and the reasons why so many people feel the need to come here at the same time, and creating a better and more fair immigration process that doesn't mean sending people to a prison camp in El Salvador, for example.
Okay, David, we so appreciate you coming back on.
Thank you.
Wow, there's going to be an internal war.
There are some names who are not going to be happy with this. But
okay, we are going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, Diddy continues to shake things up with less than 3 weeks to go before his trial. We'll tell you who he has added to his defense team and why it might be an odd pick. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Everybody loves a winner, especially Diddy, because he went out and added another lawyer to his defense team with his trial looming now less than 3 weeks away. But he has added Brian Steele. Brian Steele just represented Young Thug in his RICO case down in Georgia. Now,
so they got a lot of lawyers now. They got him, they got Mark Garagos, they got Mark Agnifilo, they've got Tenny Garagos. What's the deal? He's a white guy.
Yeah. Now, as we told you yesterday, Diddy's team is
they're on the hunt for a black female lawyer.
And there's a reason for that. I mean, considering who the alleged victims are here and who is going to be on the stand, there is part of it is no doubt visuals, right? To the jury.
But they also want somebody who's got legal chops.
They need someone who actually can do the legal work that is going to be necessary here. But look, Brian Steele makes sense because he won a RICO case, or Young Thug got probation, a very long probation, but no more jail time. And I'm sure to Diddy, that looks very attractive.
There is a peril here. And the peril is what some lawyers call trial by committee. That when there are a lot of lawyers, usually, they're all pretty strong people, and these guys are all strong people. Tenny and all the others are strong. And you got to make decisions constantly. And if the decisions have to be by committee, sometimes that does not go well.
The most obvious case of this that comes up.
Johnny Cochran and OJ.
Right. So in
Johnny
that case,
Cochran and OJ ran that case.
But Johnny
that's unusual.
Was the clear lead.
Clear lead, but that's unusual.
That's the risk here. You're bringing, there's really good lawyers in this case. They're bringing in another good lawyer, Brian Steele. I don't know that Brian Steele is the kind of guy who takes second chair from somebody, right? He comes in to run cases. Now, obviously, here that's not going to be the case. He's running for a very specific purpose. But nevertheless, I think this too many cooks in the kitchen thing could be a problem for them, depending on how this trial goes. It's supposed to be a very long trial, so you want to have a lot of really skilled hands on deck, but I would still be concerned about that very point.
Yeah. Does one person have to say, sort of like, let's say it's like a football team, you're just taking care of this part of the field. You're taking care of that part of the field.
Yes, but there's got to be an overall trial strategy. And what happens in these trials is you've got to make immediate decisions as things unfold. And sometimes you can't all get together. And if one person happens to be trying the case when something happens and they're front and center, they may make a decision that doesn't necessarily
jibe with
somebody else on the team or the strategy itself. And that's the problem when you do trial by committee.
You really can't lose any particular witness. If every witness, you got to win.
Every witness matters. Every witness matters. And we are being told that since we broke the story yesterday about looking for the black female lawyer to add to the team, They've been getting a lot of resumes.
That's pretty funny. There's no shortage of talented black female attorneys out there, all of whom I'm sure would love to make a name for themselves. I mean, we have to look back at OJ, obviously a trial you know exceptionally well, Harvey. How many lawyers made their names and developed very impressive careers after that time because they became so well known in that trial?
Hi, my name is Taylor Eves. I'm from the West Midlands in the UK, and the whole situation with Diddy choosing Brian Steele after he initially stated that he wanted to appoint a black female attorney to his defense team does come across quite shocking as to why he has changed his mind in the 11th hour and gone with Brian Steele instead.
Well, they're still looking for the female lawyer, so it's going to be a big team. Okay, we got to move on.
One thing I wanted to ask you, by the way, if someone comes on really late, does this work that they say right now you only focus on this?
I don't know how they're going to do it.
One thing. Otherwise, I don't know how you do it.
I will tell you this.
I was thinking about this last night.
This is a complicated case, and it takes months and months and months.
So you're going to have
3 weeks away. I know. I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you. Okay, we got to move on.
Yes, moving on to Emily Ratajkowski versus Gayle King, which is now really turning into quite a battle because Emily, who you know has been not really a fan of the Blue Origin mission, the all-female crew that went up on Monday, she continues to go in on them. And Gayle King, who we got out yesterday, has a defense. But first, here is Emily's new shot at the Blue Origin crew.
We are absolutely living in an oligarchy where there is a very small group of people who are interested in going to space for the sake of getting a new lease on life, while the rest of the population, most people on planet Earth, are worried about paying rent or, having dinner for their kids. I saw a creator on here who said that privilege is not an accomplishment. I think we're in a place in the world where we need to be able to discern what real progress looks like. And what happened yesterday was nothing like that.
I got to say, yeah, we are in a democracy, and the idea is not everybody has to live the same way. And, if somebody can afford a yacht or a private jet.
And I might understand what she's saying if taxpayers were paying for what happened
on
Monday.
They're not. And by the way,
private venture.
My understanding is Jeff Bezos, when she's saying privilege is not an accomplishment, he built that from the ground up.
Right.
So this wasn't a privileged guy. This is a guy who built a company. Now, you may not like
well,
the company.
I think she's saying the privilege of the crew that went up, that they, because as far as we know, nobody paid for that. This was
okay. Well,
I mean, this is a billboard for Blue Origin.
People get comped all the time. Right. They just do.
And I would say this, just that Emily Ratajkowski certainly, as a celebrity, does certain things that most of the population can't do.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with it. But what she's saying about them on Blue Origin, a lot of people say about her when she goes to Fashion Week.
That's right. Okay. So Gayle King
she's heard all of this.
Heard all of this, and it's pissing her off.
I really resent that people are calling it a ride. We duplicated the trajectory of Alan Shepard's flight back in the day. No one called that a ride. A ride sounds frivolous. It sounds insignificant. This was a bona fide flight. The thing that most gets me is the message that it sends to young women and young girls. I've had so many people, no exaggeration, reach out to me and say, because you did it, it makes me think I can do it too. We're not under any illusion that this one flight is going to change things, but what it does is it does open doors. We're the first, but my hope is it will not be the last.
But again, it is part of commercial space tourism.
Right. That's the whole point of that.
That is the whole point. And the other thing, I'm sorry, but as somebody who was mesmerized by the space race in the 60s, when she mentioned Alan Shepard, which is true, Alan Shepard went up, he went out orbit, and he came down.
And it's true. But that was a huge accomplishment.
That was a huge accomplishment because we hadn't done that with a man yet, or a person. And that was the first manned space flight from the United States, and it was a huge deal. And I'm not saying this isn't, but we have duplicated that many, many, many times.
Right. And just you meant a manned space flight, not men as opposed to women.
That's exactly what I meant.
I know that's what you meant.
Which is why I totally tried to correct myself and didn't do a good job at it.
Right.
Okay, we're going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, Khloe Kardashian opening up about the time she found Lamar cheating and what she did about it. Now, this is something we actually reported years ago when it happened, But now she's giving us some details of what happened in the aftermath, and it's a bloody mess. Khloe Kardashian was left bloodied after an encounter many, many years ago. She is now revealing what happened when she caught Lamar cheating. Now,
to be fair, self-inflicted.
Yes, exactly. Something. This was her response when she found out that he was cheating in. Now, we reported on this back in the day when they were together.
That she got a tip that Lamar was in a hotel room with another lady, and she went out to confront him.
Right.
We're told, it's a little confusing, but
we're told it was in Hollywood.
And that Kris Kardashian was also there.
Right.
And they beat the door down.
Yes. Now, that's what we had heard. We actually spoke to the woman back in the day.
Yeah.
We spoke to the woman.
On TMZ Live, that's her.
Had her on TMZ Live describing exactly what happened. And it sounds very much like what you're about to hear Khloe saying when she was on the Call Her Daddy podcast. But she also talks about what happened the day after, which we did not know. This is interesting.
He was doing his thing, and he went down to some motel in downtown LA and was with a girl, and I was young. Not that, I mean, I'm like maybe 26, something like that. Probably still old enough to not behave like this. I saw in the window that him and this girl were, they were either naked or she was in lingerie, something like that. I knocked on the door. They answered it for some reason, and I just started going ballistic. And I remember the next day, it was, I think, Penelope's birthday party, and it was a cowboy party, and my knuckles were all bloody and gross, and I just had bandanas wrapped around. I was on theme, and I acted as if nothing ever happened.
It's super sad because Khloe was saying she still loves Lamar. She thinks that she married the right person. It was just like the wrong timing, and she'll always have love for him. She still cares, but she can't see herself getting back together with him. And then she vows she'll never be with another NBA player. She was like, they're not trustworthy. I know, like, I'm saying that about like a whole category, guys, but she was like, I can't do it again. She has not had the best luck with basketball players, so you kind of understand it, but they're super hot, so you feel bad for her.
What about baseball?
So Alex actually asked her, she was like, what about football? What about like baseball? And she was like, no, I can't do it. I just can't be like with another athlete.
No athletes.
No, she's done. I'm like, Khloe, you're losing a lot of guys. Like, just try it again. Third time's a charm.
I mean, going after gay hairdressers probably isn't the answer either.
That's probably not the answer. Wow, that's the Kardashian sweet spot there with athletes. I'm serious. That's
at some point you got to branch out.
But it's never really worked out with an athlete for the Kardashians. Like, not one of them has been successful with any of them.
It worked out for a while. Like 72 days with Kris and what? With,
oh yeah, that's a real win.
Right?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Candace from Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been a fan of the Kardashians forever. Oh my goodness. Those of us who know Khloe, that was Khloe Money who came out. Okay, she unleashed the beast that day, but I still love her.
Okay, we're gonna take a break.
All right, when we come back, Benson Boone, fresh off his first week at Coachella, and he had to know this was coming. The comparisons to Freddie Mercury after doing Bohemian Rhapsody, we got him out. You're gonna see what he says when people tell him he's the next Freddie. Is Benson Boone last weekend at Coachella, his debut there.
Huge hit.
And he brought out Brian May, the guitarist from Queen, who, as they performed Bohemian Rhapsody. So you had to know that immediately everyone would be like, oh, he's going to be the new guy touring with Queen. He's the next Freddie Mercury.
He's got chops.
He does. Does he have Freddie chops? Well, we actually got Benson out here. He's staying in the area, obviously, because he's going to be back at Coachella this coming weekend. And we asked him about the comparisons. Here's what he had to say.
How was your Coachella performance? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. It was really good. We had a good time. Honestly, having Brian May out was pretty insane, man.
Yeah, what was it like working with him?
It was incredible. He is a completely down-to-earth, brilliant, wonderful, legendary human being. So.
What do you think about the people saying you remind them of Freddie Mercury?
I honestly take that as a huge compliment. I'm not trying to be anybody else but myself, but like, to hear that is incredible.
God, he is a humble guy.
That's the right response. You don't.
No,
you don't go like, oh yeah, I've got those kind of.
He was
chops.
perfect there.
Even if you do, you don't say it.
That was. He's like 22. He's polished.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what he's doing.
Do you know his story? That he was on American Idol and he was like in the top 24.
And decided, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own.
I'm going to do it on my own. And he's bigger than any of them.
Wow, where did you learn that?
In the morning meeting.
Portland from Los Angeles. I understand as an artist, being compared can be tricky because sometimes you get compared to people that you don't necessarily see yourself as. But Benson is doing great, and he does kind of give Freddie. He's worked super hard to get where he's at, and I think it's a compliment for sure for him to see that he's doing this great.
He's a big star. He is a huge star.
Got a good future.
What else do you guys want to talk about?
Virginia from California, and I want to talk about Mickey Rourke. He violated his contract and got cut. That's his problem. Maybe next time he gets an opportunity, he would work with people and won't act so unhinged.
Yeah, but that's kind of what they wanted on the show.
They kind of want that.
And they even
they
promoted that.
The part that I can't get wrapped
The
my head around, the hotel.
Yeah, the hotel.
$50,000. He was only there for a week.
And also, just don't go to that hotel. Stay there for the 3 nights you have to.
Be honest. You kind of want to know what hotel it was.
I do kind of want to know.
You do want to know.
I do kind of want to know. One more.
Bobby from Florida, and I wanted to talk about the Blake Lively story. And it feels like this whole Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni situation has been a steady back and forth roller coaster, but it's really refreshing to see people advocating on behalf of Justin. And the more that comes out, it just seems like they're not putting Blake Lively in the most positive light. So we'll have to see what happens in this situation.
Well, she's a titan, though.
She's a titan, a very influential one.
Okay, we're taking a break.
All right, if you've ever wondered what $200 strawberries taste like, I would imagine they taste kind of the same as $4.
Then why buy a $200
I don't
strawberry?
know. We'll find out from Benny Blanco when we come back. All strawberries are not created equal, at least according to Benny Blanco. I've just learned so much about strawberries. Apparently there was a $20 one that went viral from Erewhon.
Yep.
Well, Benny Blanco is about to blow that out of the water.
That's like the 99-cent store.
That's nothing. Check it. Listen to Benny.
Guys, the craziest thing just happened to me. Somebody sent me these strawberries that are like $200 from Japan. All right, this is insane. Oh my God, you can. It smells like someone put like strawberry scent in a bazooka and like shot it up my nostrils. Guys, this smells good. Okay. Have you ever tasted something so good you just like want to cry? I'd never ever spend $200 on strawberries, but I let someone really rich buy them for me.
You didn't even share them with Selena.
I know, but I think you have to like convince
The
yourself
shape
it's
is
worth
pretty amazing.
Oh, come on, it's ridiculous.
No, it's not worth the money.
They're like $10 strawberries, and you put the tariff on, and it's $200. It is. See you tomorrow.